What's up, everybody? It's your boy Nerdicane doing some more comic reviews. I just got these. I just got done reading this. This is the review for this. I really like this, but I just realized through this book, I realized that I might have women comic book character PTSD, and I'll explain that why. But this is what I got. I'm buying less comics because I've thrown all of Marvel out. I'm not buying any more Marvel until Mark Waid is basically until there's a huge overhaul at Marvel. So I'm done with Marvel. DC I'm also done with, thanks to Robbie Rodriguez, except for The Silencer and maybe some other books. If anybody is willing to convince me that I should be buying another book with DC, I am open to suggestions. They're not completely out. They're not as bad as Marvel, but I think I kind of thumbed through this. Chris Sabella is a jerk. But I think I actually might sort of like this book. But this one I liked, and this one I picked up. I'll do a little review of this as well. These are cool. People should be buying these. You should be buying all of Alterna Comics. Well, not all of Alterna Comics. I did a review on one that just didn't... Woo, that book sucked. But it's in another video. But Exilium. I don't know if that's how it is. Okay, quick synopsis. I'm not going to go through the whole book. I'm not going to spoil the whole book. Earth was being visited by these guys. They were basically the Greys. And what it was is governments were kind of like covering it up and saying it wasn't real for the longest time, but it was. They were the governments, I think the governments were already in contact with them. They were a refugee species running from something, and they wound up running to Earth. And it reminds me a little bit of what was that show about aliens refugee aliens who came and settled on Earth? It was in the 90s. Oh God, I can't believe it. I'm blanking on this thing. I might do that later. But this kind of reminds me of that, except there was something chasing them, and the alien presence on Earth, it gets into it, and it's very plausible. The way they do it. There's the problem with a lot of comic books when they go this way is they go with a lot of really implausible things. Is this Alien Nation? Alien Nation, that's what the show was called. This kind of takes a real look at the changes and the things that would arise if an alien species came here as refugees. And it goes into, there's like violence, and then there's discrimination against them because they're not human, and there's problems, other problems that cause from that. In this situation, they're doing kind of an ambush. These guys, basically the species who was chasing them found them, came to Earth, and there was basically a war, and now these guys are the resistance against their oppressors and us humans, by extension, because we're helping them because we accepted them. But yeah, it's kind of a cool setup. You can tell from this fight that they are desperate and that they are completely outgunned. They're doing like a guerrilla warfare, and they're striking from these hidden bases with basically junk weapons that they piecemeal together, and they're winning these tiny little victories. But these two here have a very cool... This guy got kind of a bromance going, although I don't know if he's male of his species or not. But they have sort of a bromance going, and the dialogue that they do and the relationship they do between them is so well done, and it's so refreshing to see in comic books nowadays, is dialogue and relationship between characters done so well. And then this lady was introduced, and I saw her, and I was like, oh no, she's gonna be the Mary Sue. She was gonna be the character that was just like always perfect, and it didn't happen. It just shows that I kind of have female character PTSD because I've spent so much time in Marvel reading books that were just poorly written, that are just completely terrified to show any type of vulnerability or any type of flaw in a female character. But yeah, she's very competent as a soldier. All of these people are very competent. There's no incompetent boob in this. They don't make him the goofball. She's not perfect. None of these people are perfect, and they're all struggling, and they're all struggling together. And that's sort of what makes this sci-fi tale very beautiful, is at its very core, there is the human element to it. And it makes these characters, makes me care about them a little more, a lot more, actually. Makes me, especially these two, I know, there's probably going to be some tragic death between these two, and it's going to suck, and it's going to hurt. But these two have a great relationship. They're bros, and they're having fun together. They're in a desperate fight, but they're still, they still take their time to kind of poke at each other and mess with each other and have a good time. We cut to here, and this is a very cool scene where she's just getting out of the shower, she's brushing her hair, and then she has this deep flashback to when she was a kid, and she's asking her mom to tell the story of when the aliens arrived, and it starts to tell. This is where it starts to paint the picture of the backstory of this planet, of what's going on in this story, and it's really well done. It's very plausible. It's very much like sort of like Port of Earth. Port of Earth stretches the plausibility, but this does a really good job. Is that there would have to be a treaty, there would have to be a deal. We would probably take their fleet, and we did. And in between, it's cutting to these two dudes just playing ping pong, having their bromance, and they're doing their thing. They're both very competent soldiers. Neither one of the guys not a boob, So in that first raid that you saw, they picked up some information, and it's very hazy. It's very important information, but it's very hazy. It doesn't give you the details, and it just sets up that they have to do a very desperate operation, but it could win them something very huge. Present time starts showing that, and then it goes back to the conflict and the problems that this species being introduced to Earth society caused, and it goes into the flashback, and then it'll just snap you back into present time, which is, it's jarring, but it's very well done in this book. There's Buddy Boo. He had a rough week. We had to take him to the hospital. This is like a $2,000 cat, just on medical bills in the last week or so. But he's feeling better. I have to give him an IV, which is really weird, giving a cat an IV for fluids to keep him hydrated. But he's getting better. He'll be okay. That's my Buddy Boo. He's my kitty. Yeah, that's it. I'm not going to spoil any more of this. It ends. Man, it ends that looking, and it ends like, and it looks like they're just completely screwed at the end. It's a bit of a cliffhanger, but something's going to happen. Something's going to snap. And it's going to be, I think issue 2 is going to be a great fight. It's going to be a great space battle. Once again, it's still going to be very desperate and very tough. But this is Exilium. If I'm saying that wrong, let me know. Exilium? I don't know. But it's a very cool book. I really enjoy this. It's $1.50. What do you got to lose? $1.50. Come on. As always, I support Peter Simeti. I support Alterna Comics, and I support all the creators who are gracious enough to support him as well and send their comics to him. He is a man who loves comic books. He loves the comic book industry. He only wants to get good comics out there into people's hands. He devotes his entire day to that, and I hope he's doing well. He had a big problem, and it's part of the reason why I am not buying Marvel. It's because of the way Mark Waid treated him, and I believe that it is time for Marvel Comics to give Mark Waid the opportunity to go do his own book, to go do his own project, his own Kickstarter. That's why I'm pushing. I'm starting the campaign today. Marvel, release Mark Waid from the exclusive contract. Allow him to leave your company. You know what? Force him to leave your company and go do his own project, because I would like to see that. I think it's time for Mark Waid to go off, leave Marvel, and do his own projects and see how well that goes. See how well your behavior with the fans carries you in the indie market. But this is Alterna Comics. Go buy him, Peter Simeti. Go follow him on Twitter. I am Nerdicane, as always. I'm recording a podcast with Ethan Ainsworth today. It's going to be fun. It's about video games. We've gotten some really good video games, and I'll link to that podcast in another video. But go check out his channel. He does some good videos. He's a young guy. He's he's going to school and he's still busting his butt making these videos and making podcasts for people. And go give him a listen. That's all I got for this one. Go out and buy it. Move the Needle. It's a great comic book. It's going to be a good story. Yeah, and the guy... Oh, there's credit where credit's due. I do like the art in this, but and I like the writing. But he's a good guy on Twitter. If you go check out his page, his Twitter page, it's all pushing his book, pushing Alterna, wanting to get good comics in people's hands. So, good job. Way to commit to the bit. And I support you fully. I'm going to go buy every one of these. It is a series of 6. I'm going to go buy them all. All right? Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Hit a like, hit a subscribe, and yeah, go buy some comics.